Okay. How about that? Can you guys see me? We're back. Fun night of technical difficulties. We're running about as smoothly as things are going right now in 33rd and 7th. That basketball arena, at least. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the KFS pregame show. My name is Andrew. His name is Menta. His name is Sean. We are here to preview the Knicks' upcoming game, their first of a 5-game West Coast trip. It's not West Coast trip because not all these games are on the coast. They're in Utah tonight. The first of a 5-game road trip against Western Conference opponents, the first of which in Salt Lake City against the Utah Jazz. We usually start by recapping the most recent game, but I really don't want to. This just happened years ago, so why would we even talk about what happened on Sunday? I was also in the building with one Mensa Smith, which was a great experience, but everything was awesome except for the game. There's no other way to start this other than questioning whether Tom Thibodeau has coached his last home game at Madison Square Garden. I've decided to introduce a headlines segment at the start of this, where we're going to go through some recent headlines with the Garden, at least with this basketball team. And so, Mensa, I'll go to you first. We'll start with Ian Begley's report that came out Sunday night / Monday morning. John Macri wrote a pretty great newsletter this morning, at least for Tuesday, on what the something else could be. And Begley intimated that should the Knicks road trip not go well, changes could be made, whether it be Tom Thibodeau as head coach or something else. And John wrote a newsletter on what that something else could mean. Mensa, what do you think could happen at the end of this road trip if the Knicks, let's say, goes 1-4, 0-5, as some people, myself potentially included, are projecting it to be? If it goes poorly, what do you think will happen? Is this a end of the road for Thibodeau, or is there something else you could see happening?
The end of the road for Tom Thibodeau would be what all of us what 90% of us want. So I kind of don't expect it to be that. What the something would be, I have no idea. I would hope that something else would be trying to start Obi Toppin, or because it doesn't really matter which shooting guard you start. It doesn't matter if it's quickly, if it's Cam, as long as it's not Evan Fournier. I don't think it'll affect the Knicks' chances too much. So it's either if this road trip goes as expected, which good luck, good news for Tom Thibodeau. Jokic is out with COVID for tomorrow, so there goes a silver lining for him. Um, yeah, it has honestly if once you start to think about it, there's only one way this can go, and that's the removal of Tom Thibodeau as head coach, just because I think that the sentiment is, even though firing Tom Thibodeau won't make the Knicks material a bunch better, it probably can't make the Knicks worse, because the decisions that he continues to make are indefensible. You're trying to get stops, and you keep Evan Fournier in the game. Evan Fournier plays more minutes than Obi Toppin. That is a slap in the face of the front office, who drafted this guy 8th overall, and of everybody who understands the game of basketball and roots for the orange and blue. So I don't think there is a something else. I kind of don't believe they will fire Thibodeau, but if anything were to happen, that's the easy fix.
Sean, I think I know where you're going with this, but what do you see happening at the end of this road trip should it go poorly?
I think 0-5, he might get the gate. I think 1-4, he has a small chance. But I think about something I think John wrote about in his newsletter, or I saw it somewhere, that, the argument that he can make is that he hasn't had his 2 best defensive players. And that may give him a stay of execution. Mensa rolled his eyes. Said, brother, I'm with you. If that's what's come down to, it's because I don't have Mitchell Robinson and Quentin Grimes, those all NBA. But
We do this literally every time it's you two. I swear. It just ends up being reasons to fire Tom Thibodeau.
No, you asked me. No, you asked me what. You asked me.
I asked you what you think will happen, not what you want and hope will happen.
No. Okay, no. I'm saying if I think he will get I think there is a non-zero chance that even if they lose every single game on this road trip, he will still have his job. And that is because he can make the claim that, hey, I don't have my two best players, right? So I think like it has to be like what we saw Sunday night repeatedly for the next 5 games, and which is probably going to happen at least once because we're playing Golden State and we're playing Utah. So so I actually think there's a non-zero chance. When I believe the axe is coming down, and that's when I think the axe is coming down. Just because I know this franchise, and that's how it goes.
I've adopted when you believe the axe is coming down. I've been saying that Sunday night after they play Cleveland, that is like the perfect time after back-to-back losses to Luka in your building and Donovan Mitchell in your building to drop you to 8-16 at that point. That's the time to do it.
And I just put it in the chat in there. So when it was watching, click on that, copy and paste that tweet. That is the prediction I made last month, and it's still in play.
It's still in play. It's actually going exactly how you predicted, which is the crazy part. So here's the spin zone I'll make. Utah's lost 2 games in a row. The most recent one only scored 98 points against Philly. Denver's playing without Jokic. Golden State's bench unit is one of the worst in the NBA. Yes, Steph is incredible, but I trust the Knicks bench unit over their bench unit. And I got nothing for you against Phoenix, so maybe that's the one loss. But then you go to OKC, a team that you just scored 135 points against. So, Mensa, I love you. Look, I don't share the staunch defense of Thibodeau that some might. One that might potentially you see a lot on this channel. I do share the sentiment that I don't think the Knicks' problems go away when you fire this guy. I just don't. I'm sorry that they're still going to be destined for at best a 500 team. You might hope that Johnny Bryant or somebody else can get a hold of Julius Randle and do something different. I don't see it. This team's shooting isn't going to improve when you get a new head coach. This team's defensive abilities aren't going to change when you get a new head coach. It just might get better. Like Mitch and Grimes might play more and Mitch might come back. Like this has to be a top-down organizational decision to pivot to something that I don't think this fan base is going to get, but look, the only thing I could say is we don't know what will happen post Thibodeau, so we might as well see it and see if that fixes something. But I'm not like gonna be the day that he gets fired, because I do think it is. I will say this: I am there when the day that he does get fired. I'm not gonna be like, great, the Knicks' problems are solved. I don't think that.
I do quickly want to push back a little bit on the idea that the Knicks essentially offensively won't get any better if they fire Thibodeau. I have since we kind of have had Thibodeau here, I have strongly believed that he did nothing to improve on the Fizdalian eat what you kill offensive philosophy. The whole read and react thing kind of doesn't work without, the Knicks offensively have a bunch of guys that can work in a system, but we don't really have a system. If you're going to tell Julius Randle to read and react, he's going to read and react from the perspective that I'm Julius Randle and I should be scoring on everybody. We don't have the guys, we don't have the requisite guys to make a system like that work. In order to have a read and react system that way, you need a savant, you need a Trae Young, you need a Kevin Durant, you need a Steph Curry, a Draymond Green, guys who can consistently make the right reads. The Knicks do not have that, and I can't say this is I don't like to put the blame on the young guys too much because they've kind of been drafted into like the system, so they haven't been taught how to read and react on an NBA level. Like Thibodeau does a great job of developing talent as far as what he did with Cam Reddish in a year, what he's done with Obi Toppin, Emmanuel quickly. Like the young guys have improved. RJ Barrett's even improved. But when it comes to putting the young players in position to succeed on the court, in game time situations, Tom Thibodeau, in my opinion, has failed time and time again. He doesn't, especially with RJ, because RJ gets a lot of pushback from like the advanced numbers don't like RJ Barrett. They never have, and they probably never will. But when
just to cut you off, very few numbers like RJ Barrett. He gets to the line a lot. He drives a lot. That's really.
I was gonna say that.
Fair enough. But when I watch the game, right, I don't see the offense. Like whenever the ball gets in RJ's hands, he either has a wide open shot or he has to create. We need like what happened to trying to get RJ to cut off the ball. Like there's so many things that we can do offensively with a player like RJ Barrett to put him in position to make those bullet passes cross court. They're like we offensively with our game plan, it just feels like okay, let's get a double team, let's move the ball around, and hopefully somebody makes something happen. I feel like the offense is too mundane for this group of players who need to be in a system where, like with Cam Reddish, we can't treat Cam Reddish like Reggie Bullock. Because before we tried to treat Cam Reddish like Reggie Bullock, we were treating RJ Barrett like Reggie Bullock. It just feels like a lot of the same plug and play stuff with Tom Thibodeau. And that was cool when you had prime Derrick Rose. But with these Knicks, we needed more offensively. And now that the defense isn't working, like I don't see a reason for Tom Thibodeau to coach another game for this team. I feel like his principles have been lost, and offensively, he doesn't do much to improve the guys. And from the front office's perspective, if you are not improving the trade value of my players, you're making me look worse. And one of us has to go. And if I can get rid of you before you get rid of me, then that's what I'll have to do.
And the pushback I'll give before I get to Sean is that so Cam can't be Reggie Bullock. So that's another guy you want to get any type of usage from RJ Barrett. Like the question, the solution that everybody wants is no more Julius Randle. And unfortunately, Jalen Brunson, who I think we all said was a good signing, has not shot extremely well from three. He's been fine, like overall, but Julius also, like their offense has been fine despite not having really any threat other than Obi Toppin from 3-point land. The offense is ranked 17th. It's a defense, and it's mostly been an effort thing from your two best players, like RJ and Julius. Like that's the issue. Like the offense, you could say RJ like hasn't been used correctly, and I am intrigued by what it would look like having RJ without Julius on the court, but I don't think the solution to their problems, which is less Julius Randle and not less Tom Thibodeau, is going to happen. Like that's my biggest thing. The Knicks' three highest usage players are all shooting under 32% from 3-point land this season, which no other NBA team has that problem. Like that's their issue. You could point to like all these other things, the read and react not being a good strategy, that Cam Reddish isn't used correctly. Those three guys are not shooting well enough from three, and neither of them have been good defensively this year. That is an effort thing. It's why the next headline, Sean, is that apparently Julius Randle, the most ironic headline I've ever read from this Knicks franchise, took this team out to dinner in Utah last night and preached accountability. First of all, good on him. It brings me vibes of SpongeBob looking for the hall monitor. But like, what do you make of this? That it does seem like somebody is trying to save the coach's job or fight for the coach's job on this team and show the appearance of leadership. If not, like, shout out to Jeff from the Strickland, from Frank Barrett. That thread of Julius and his defensive efforts on Sunday matches the eye test from what I watched in the building on Sunday. There was no effort, and it makes sense when the other team scores 145 points that the accountability starts with him. What do you make of that headline, Sean?
I was in shock. I was in awe. I was flabbergasted. It is, of course he would fight for the head coach because the head coach lets him do whatever the hell he wants. Like if I'm Mitchell Robinson, or if I'm gonna use this guy, and I'm just gonna gladify. If I'm Evan Fournier, and I hear this guy trying to tell me about accountability, I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? I will agree with you on this. That I think on study hall on Saturday, I said the Knicks' biggest problem is Julius Randle, not the head coach, not the roster, not the front office. Julius Randle, because if you simply removed him, so many things change. I've actually said for years that when I've defended Tom Thibodeau, that Tom Thibodeau is actually a very innovative coach when he has to be. He would just rather do what is comfortable for him. I saw him make Joakim Noah an MVP candidate when he lost Derrick Rose. Because he designed an offense around him, which no one saw coming. So yes, if you removed him, things would if you remove him, the lane opens up more. Obi's the starting lineup. RJ gets more usage. You get Brunson improves, because literally now I'm putting someone who shoots 40% from three per 36 in a starting lineup to provide spacing. I will ask you this question though, Mr. General Manager. You said if Tom Thibodeau's fired, it doesn't solve the Knicks' problems, all the Knicks' problems. What are the Knicks' problems? Besides Julius Randle.
I listened to an episode of KFS Study Hall. Everybody had solutions to this question. I do think he is part of the problem. Don't get me wrong. I just and look, maybe this is just part of how I process basketball. Like, the coach can only do so much. Like, there are bad matches for coaching. Don't get me wrong. Like I think the Sixers improved when they went from Bruce Brown to Doc Rivers. I think obviously the Warriors improved when they went from Mark Jackson to Steve Kerr. There are plenty of examples. Like David Blatt had the best record in the Eastern Conference, and they fired him. I think they improved going to Ty Lue. When you have a certain amount of talent, it's tough to really put everything on the coach. So the way I process basketball is like, it's very much a players focused sport, like football would be different. Like I could point to game scheme and like the Eagles were 8-0 going into last night, one loss, and every Eagle fan I know is wanting the defensive coordinator fired. And I don't really blame them. I think like a lot of the defensive scheming with the Eagles is kind of bad, and they've benefited from a very weak schedule this season outside of one Cowboy game and one Viking game. All this to say, like, I would go to the Knicks' biggest problem being that their best player is either Jalen Brunson or either Julius Randle or either, on the right night, RJ Barrett. They needed a consolidation trade. They didn't make it. They have multiple long-term contracts that nobody wants, and the only way to get anything for them is to play them to see if someone will want them. And they've built a roster that is destined for mediocrity. And while we're sounding the alarms, they're 6-7. They're about as good as you possibly could be with the talent that is provided. I think what the issues I have with Tibbs are the veterans playing. I'm just like very curious. Is Johnny Bryant going to walk in day one and be like, all right, Fournier, your bench, Derrick Rose, your situational, but like, aren't we trending that way already with Tibbs? The thing people really want to see is, all right, Julius, you're coming off the bench. Which I'm sorry, it's just like never going to happen.
So the one thing you said, the last problem that you said is the one that I wanted to focus on. That this team is destined for mediocrity. I actually don't think that's a problem, because there's one thing to be in the middle and there's one thing to being stuck in the middle. The Knicks are in the middle. They're not stuck in the middle. Me and Cedric Sean had this little back and forth on our text thread about I've said that more people are in the middle than they realize, and I brought up Minnesota. Minnesota is stuck. They can't do anything, right? But their mid looks better than ours. And he's like, well, they got 2 stars, and they got. I was like, no. Well, no, they do have. Well, no, they have a star in Cat. They have an up and coming potential star in Anthony Edwards. They have Rudy Gobert, but they can't do it. Like, are they a title contender? No, they're stuck.
They're stuck.
So
yeah.
I don't think we're so. That's why. So the reason I say that is to say this. It's like, so like the problems are stuck in. I don't think that's a problem. Them being in the middle this season. The roster, agree. Thibodeau isn't going to change that. What I will say is we'll say coach, because I remember. Shout out to my co-host on KFS Study Hall, Chris Persianen, who very astutely pointed out to one Jonathan Macri that the whole if you change the coach, nothing really is going to change. That he said the same thing about Mr. 4-18 David Fizdale, and they changed the coach and they went 17-27. Now, I'm not throwing a parade for 17-27, but at the very least, you have to see what you have. And I can say that the head coach, due to his rigid philosophy, is preventing us from seeing what he has. Now, the front office can make this change, and they can literally make this decision anytime they want and say, hey, Tom, do this, do that, or get out. So their hands are, they're complicit in this. But if they make that change, then we can see, okay, there is a path to say, okay, what do different things look like? Like Cam at the 4. Like, go ahead, Andrew.
Well, no, like that I agree with. Like the easy pivot is like, all right, it wasn't working as is with Tibbs. And look, like I'll go to Mensa with this. I agree the rigidness can be frustrating. We have seen lineups I never thought I'd see from this coach. Like, I do think he is trying things. He's just not trying the things that universally.
Because his hand was forced. Like,
right.
I don't think if Mitchell Robinson gets hurt, we see Roby minutes at 20.
100%. We probably also aren't 24th in defense if we weren't trying lineup combinations that nobody expected to play with right now. Because they're like the pack the paint defense, as much as people don't like it, they were 11th in defense last year, 4th the year before. It worked the last 2 seasons, and people are taking the exact same amount of threes as they were the last 2 years. The issue is that people aren't contesting because they're playing next to guys they never expected to, because it's game 13 of the season. But I'll go to Mensa with this. Like, I do agree that the reason to get rid of Tibbs is just to give it a different look, give a different perspective, a different voice to see what it is. And like the Fizdale thing aside, like, the Knicks, like, they had the same problems when Mike Miller took over, and like, yeah, that might still be this team may still be destined for 37 wins. The issue with this team and their ceiling remains the power forward on this team. Mensa, we've said a lot, and I just want to get your take on all of this. Like what's the expectation? Should Tibbs actually be let go? And like, this players only meeting, like, it's clear that there is still a support of this coach. At least that's how I read it. At least, like, if they're actually have the players only meeting, I know the Haley O'Shaughnessy 5 steps of a Tom Thibodeau coaching cycle. Like, this is step 4, like the players only meeting. But I don't know, man. Like, I took this all as somewhat of a grain of salt that, like, we're all reacting to 6 and 7, and they clearly aren't panicking the way we are. They're having like a precautionary meeting, if anything.
So you know the scene in The Sopranos where they all called Paulie Montesanti into the room?
He's never seen The Sopranos.
I've never seen The Sopranos.
Okay,
but you can say what you want.
Long story short, the only way this players only meeting would have worked is if it was the Julius Randle intervention. And for Julius Randle to call the meeting, there should have been the Julius Randle intervention. It's like we're all being punked. I don't know. It's like, wait, and this is just to put a bow on it. Mm-hmm. This guy, Tom Thibodeau, says that he needs to watch the film 3 and 4 times before you can make a comment. This is actually comedy. And the guy who Knicks Twitter can do one rewatch and say it's Julius Randle that is screwing us over and over and over again. What film are they watching? If Julius Randle has the balls to call a meeting about accountability, Julius Randle wouldn't know accountability if it walked into his office and slapped him. Like, he would not know what accountability looks like because his coach doesn't hold him accountable. And everything that he's ever done with the New York Knicks since the We Hair season has gone in the face of accountability while everybody around him gets held accountable. Jalen Brunson, who's like Leon Rose's godson, gets benched for an entire fourth quarter, and he can come out in the press conference and say, I wouldn't have played me either. That guy can talk about accountability. Julius Randle.
Julius Randle. It's not LeBron. It's not Steph Curry. It's Julius Randle.
I feel like we're all being punked here, and it's kind of and it's feeling a lot like all the negative feelings that I got from last year's season, which on its face, 37-45 isn't the worst you can do. It's how we got to 37-45. How we are at 6-7 right now, why we're there, and whose fault it is what makes this season feel so tough. But I do want to say that a lot of like the Tibbs supporters create this straw man that people who want Tibbs gone think that Johnny Bryant is going to come in and just kick Julius Randle to the curb. All I'm asking for is 28 minutes for Julius and 20 for Obi Toppin.
And it's not going to happen.
I don't know, but I understand. Like, even if like, where's Obi at right now? Obi's at like what, 17 minutes?
17 and change. Yeah, 17 and change.
3 more minutes for Obi Toppin. That's all I'm asking for.
It's not going to happen.
Why is 28 minutes not going to happen for Julius Randle?
Because he made the second team All-NBA 2 years ago. The way Twitter feels about Julius Randle is not how this front office and this organization feels about him.
I don't believe that. I don't. Well, no.
Then I'd like to be pleasantly surprised when it happens, which is the only reason I'm for a coaching change.
Do they think that guy from 2 years ago is coming back? Do you think they think that?
So no, but the guy that's averaging 20 points, 9 rebounds, and has an effective field goal percentage over 50 is right now. Like we get it. We credit Jalen Brunson and we credit RJ for being like young kings, right? Well, Julius is shooting better than both of them from 3 this year. And I don't mean to turn into the Julius defender. I'm just saying the perspective that I think they all share is he's the guy. Like, he is a guy. His shot chart, his process remains significantly better. The long twos do not exist this season. That's the guy. He is the engine that gets this team going, and they're not going anywhere unless he improves. What's up?
He's the engine that gets us to 17th in offense.
I agree. Like, I'm with all of you that the numbers exist. I do not think we will see any change in his role should a coaching change happen. The only way I think a role changes is if it's 0, if he's gone, which I don't think is going to happen either.
No way. Well, then they should all be thrown out onto the street. If they
it's a front office issue. Yes.
If they honestly think that there is a road to being, they should all be like it's one thing if they're like, Tom, we gave you full autonomy on roster and lineups. That I disagree with that, but I can understand that. Coach is coach, front office is front office. But if I'm to think that they're saying, like, if I'm to think that if Johnny Bryant were to be hired and say, hey, I want to reduce his minutes just to like 28 to 30, just so we can see what we have, and the front office is like, no, Julius is our guy, and we believe in him. Mr. Dolan should pull a New York Rangers and come down upon high and clean everybody out.
Look, I share the same frustrations that both of you do with some of the rigidness in the head coach, some of the template coaching from last season, and the frustrations with Julius and all of the advanced metrics and the on-off numbers that show the Knicks are better when he's off the floor. That would have been a reason to see a reduction in minutes already, and we haven't seen it. And I'm not convinced that a new head coach is going to walk in here and do something that a 2-time coach of the year was not able to do. The only way that's possible, because the moment you reduce his minutes, the rest of the league sees it, and they're like, oh, we're not trading for him.
the rest of the league already sees this. Like, do we really think that the league is going to be like, well, now they're reducing to 28 minutes a game, I'm not interested in him. They already know. They know who he is.
So then you're just talking. So then you're resigned to the fact that this is the worst contract in the league then?
It is bottom 10. And I'm also resigned to the fact that the reason why he is still here is because this front office values value above everything. And like what Fred Katz said the other day, it's like, yeah, Evan Fournier is available for a first-round pick. Who's giving you that?
Yeah. Well, like, he even said a second-round pick.
Second. Like, nah. They want to not lose a trade. So they have this pipe dream in their head that we can get Julius to a place where, and I think John said in his newsletter today, he's good enough that we can include him in a package for a star. The problem is, one, there's no stars available, and two, so right, and two, again, like I actually have this really, really hot take that I think I might drop tomorrow. But it's like I was last year, and I'll shut up after this. Last year, I was on the bandwagon. Like the minute you bench Julius Randle, he becomes the worst contract in the league. I think he's already very, very close there because, again, to the people who think, oh, let's trade Julius for a first-round pick, it's like, no. Everyone else sees what we see. So I don't think that the league is saying, I don't think Phoenix, I'm just making this up, who could use a power forward, or Miami, haha, that's funny. Miami's sitting there like, all right, you know what? Now they gave him 20 minutes again instead of 35. Yeah, he just ain't it. No, he is who he is.
I just think if you're telling me that a new head coach would come in here and be like, because the issue isn't even 28 minutes. Like if you're saying 28 to 20, like just so Obi gets to 20 minutes, people are still going to complain that Obi's playing less than Julius. Like I know this fan base enough at this point.
Those people are not on the Knicks Film School podcast.
No, they're not. I know you're content with 20. And look, that's why the over-under was set for 20 minutes with John and Fred. I'm sorry. I'm just at the point where if he's such a sunk cost, then this team's issues are so much bigger than a new head coach. Then if that's where we're at with this player, that arguably his best season that has fans in the stands as a Knick, right? Like he's been better this year, whether we want to admit it or not, at least in the offensive end. And if that's so like unplayable that Obi like that he needs to have a reduction in minutes, then we're at the point where it's so much bigger than just get Johnny Bryant in here and see what he can do. That's at least where I stand.
But here's what we've always been at that point. I think you don't really get a chance, especially in football. Like, okay, I love to do the
football. Yeah.
You don't get a chance to draft two quarterbacks and pick two head coaches in football. Very rarely do you do that. The Knicks took their head coach and they chose their quarterback. Both of those guys don't seem to be the guys we need. Personally, I want Tom Thibodeau gone because I know the second step after that is if they don't hit a home run, which this front office has not hit a home run yet, they will be gone too. And for me, it's very frustrating to see the Knicks want to commit to being in the middle when you have never had a superstar. Like you had Patrick Ewing, right? Patrick Ewing, we can debate if he was a superstar or not. I'm not sure if he was ever one of the 5 to 7 best players in the NBA. I'm also not old enough to have that conversation. There is this year, you have a kid in Scoot Henderson who may be a better prospect than John Morant. And you have Victor Wembanyama, who may be the greatest prospect we've ever seen. And then you have Imani Bates over at Eastern Michigan, who was the high school player of the year at age 16. And we are choosing to do what now? Look, I love RJ Barrett. I love Jalen Brunson. They are not him. He does not play for the New York Knicks. We need a him, right? Go get one. Do your best. And here's the other thing. We know who Julius Randle is. We have all of these assets. You want to get a star in the building? How about, and this is probably a radical way of thinking, but how about you attach some of your assets to move Julius Randle. If you have to bite the bullet and attach an unprotected pick somewhere, that's probably a little wild. But what you have to now bet on Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly, Cam Reddish, that they, with Julius Randle out the picture, will raise their value so that you can put some players together so Obi Toppin and 2 unprotected first-round picks might actually get you something. But when you're giving this kid 17 minutes a game, is he as valuable as an unprotected first-round pick? Having Julius Randle on this roster doesn't just do the Knicks a discredit in the win-loss column, but it depresses the value of the assets that they are hoarding like nobody's business. If you can't pawn off an Obi Toppin, an Emmanuel Quickly, an RJ Barrett, a Quentin Grimes on the team because they don't have the platform to make themselves look bigger, then what is it all for? You're gonna end up in a situation where you're on the phone with Sam Presti or Masai Ujiri or one of these really, really smart GMs, and they're gonna say, you don't believe in your own assets. Why should I give you my best player when you for your poo-poo platter of things, you don't want to give me the 29 unprotected pick? You don't want to give me the 27 unprotected pick? Fine. This deal is over, and another Cleveland's going to come and take the deal from us. Getting rid of Julius Randle is way more important than firing Tom Thibodeau. I just believe they both need to go, and if I can get rid of Tom Thibodeau today, I'm taking it.
But again, everything you just said, and we'll wrap with this, is a front office concern. Getting rid of Julius Randle.
I want them going too.
Right. So that's why the vitriol that comes for Thibodeau. Look, I know that the conversation is more nuanced than like people think that if Tibbs goes, this team will be good all of a sudden. One could argue like their best path to being good is with him as the head coach. One could argue. The opposition to that argument is that we will never know the full potential of every player on this roster with him as head coach because he has different beliefs of what works and what doesn't. Now, this is where I'm begging for people to look at what he's tried so far this year. Cam Reddish is starting games right now. I did not know he would be in the rotation on opening night. We've seen 45 Obi and Randle minutes so far this year. Yes, it's because of circumstance, but damn it, he still tried it when he had 2 other centers on the roster. And guess what? It's minus 11. It's minus 11 for the season, or minus 12 of this, 11.9. So he's tried it. It hasn't worked as best unless you have Joel Embiid and James Harden not on the court. So, like, he has experimented with lineups to see what works. They were also 23rd in defense last year at this exact point in the season and finished 11th. There are more changes that would be coming. The problem is that the oven is starting to overheat, and that is the issue. He doesn't have a full season to figure it out, to bench Kemba Walker, to experiment with other lineups that might work until he finds one. Like, just why I agree. Like, the writing's on the wall. Like, he
had a full season last year. We decided to play Alec Burks at point guard. So
and it had a positive net rating. What I didn't like about that lineup was like, this season's lost anyway. Let me see what Quickly is. Let me see what Obi is. That was my issue. Not whether it works or not. It did work.
Work is relative, and what I mean by that is you are someone you want Tom Thibodeau, and this is the first thing you think about Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau wants a point guard who could put pressure on the rim, and you continually start as someone who shot better from 3 than from 2. That doesn't make sense. Something's not computing here. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he does I'll say this, and we can move on. Tonight is if we don't see any Obi and Randle minutes tonight against this Utah team that doesn't have a center that scares you, that means that I don't care about look, he's starting Cam. He's doing this. Like, tonight is a perfect opportunity. If Kelly Olynyk and Walker Kessler at the 5 and Jared Vanderbilt, if we don't see 1 minute, if we see a traditional center all 48 minutes, like we saw on Sunday, because apparently you need to start Jericho Sims against Pokusevski, then I don't know what we're talking about.
He started Hartenstein on Sunday.
I'm saying, well, there was a traditional center against a team running Pokusevski.
Look, I've been with everybody on the Obi minutes. Like, there are things he is worthy of criticism for. We all do agree this all comes back to Julius Randle, an issue that will be there after Tibbs is gone, right? Like that. That's just like the Brad.
He is the biggest problem on this team.
So as a result, let's get into the 5 games. Game 1 of the 5-game stretch that will probably end Tom Thibodeau's career as a New York Knicks head coach. How's that? We'll transition.
Listen, I don't want. Yes, we can get.
It's gonna happen. Look, I was never like he's a savior.
December
I don't think
4th.
he walks on water. I just like at the basketball is very much the coach experiments with lineups to see what works. Is very much a player's sport. Like the reason Doc Rivers has the reputation he has as a great head coach is because he's had super team after super team to try and win stuff with. And if it wasn't for one season where Kevin Garnett and Tom Thibodeau anchored the best defense in the NBA to lead them to a title, I'm not sure Doc Rivers would have the reputation he'd have today. Having said all of that, one coach who does have a good reputation so far this season is Will Hardy of the Utah Jazz, who is coaching this team to a 10-5 start. They're 5-0 at home. Now they've lost 2 straight. They lost on Saturday against the Washington Wizards, which snapped a 4-game winning streak. And then they lost on Sunday night to the Philadelphia 76ers, 105-98, a game in which Joel Embiid scored 59 points and had double-digit rebounds and and double-digit assists and nearly 10 blocks. He almost had a quadruple-double with 59 points. Okay. Yeah, Joel Embiid had one of the best nights of his career, arguably the best night of his career. And all of that to say, they still have not lost at home, the Utah Jazz. They're also due. They just lost 2 straight. So they come home after a 3-game road trip, and they welcome in the Knicks. Lauri Markkanen, since being traded to the Utah Jazz, is off to a tremendous start this season. He's averaging 21.8 points per game, nearly 9 rebounds, 2 assists. He's shooting 53% from the field, on 34% from 3 on 6 attempts, and then 84% from the line. The Utah Jazz are top 5 in, ready for this? Top 5 in wins, top 5 in offensive rating, top 5 in points per game, top 5 in net rating, top 5 in offensive rebound percentage, in possessions, in 3 points made per game, 3 points attempted per game, and assists per game. The only thing the Utah Jazz are bottom 5 in is free throws made and free throws attempted. They don't get to the line. They don't make a ton. Having said that, we're gonna
protect the paint anyway.
This is a recipe for a blowout tonight, unfortunately. Especially the 5-0 at home. Now, I have no idea what a players only meeting actually translates into. I will say, if they get blown out tonight after this dinner, then I want Julius Randle never buying dinner for anybody on this team again. No more players only meetings.
They went to the same pizza place that sent Michael Jordan that pizza in '98.
That must be what it is. That they went to the same result in all. Mensa, you got any confidence about this game? Well, okay. What does that even mean? What are you confident in going into this game?
I'm confident that the Knicks will give up a lot of threes. That is the one thing that I'm confident in. That's where I'm leaning for my betting and sweating pick. At the game, Chris, he made a pretty good comment about how teams that play smart basketball will always have one up on the Knicks. And Jordan Clarkson and Mike Conley may be the most veteran backcourt we've seen so far this season. They have a lot of experience, not just in the playoffs, but just like knowing the game. And Clarkson can get a bucket. Conley still will get you 6, 7, 8 assists a night. So I do expect. I have a hard time seeing how the Knicks can stop Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson tonight, especially with the floor spaces that they have in Olynyk and Lauri Markkanen. It's a recipe for disaster for this specific Knicks team. I will say one thing, though, that since the Nets game, I've noticed that Jalen Brunson struggles a lot with teams that are long. That's not the Utah Jazz. Mike Conley is not a long basketball player. Jordan Clarkson's wingspan is okay for his size. And then you have a couple slow-footed front court guys. So if there's any saving grace in this game, it's going to be that the Utah Jazz cannot stop Jalen Brunson. And the last time we saw Jalen Brunson play the Utah Jazz, we can confirm that they could not stop him. So that's really our saving grace tonight is Jalen Brunson. If he doesn't get it going, then don't bother staying up past 10:30.
Sean, what about you?
If we go out and try to protect the paint against a team who's bottom 5 in free throw attempts, they should fire him on the tarmac. And then they should leave Julius Randle behind.
He should retire that, like the Bills guy.
It's just like, and you know what actually I was thinking about while Mensa was speaking?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if they win this game? How do we feel? Like, how do we feel?
So can I just add some not news, but some things that are being leaked from the beat right now. Ian Bagley 11 minutes ago. Something to keep an eye on recently. Knicks have considered shortening their rotation. Club has gone mostly with a 10-man rotation to date. Fred Katz then quote tweets this with 9-man rotation in play in Utah tonight. As Steve Popper just tweeted, the Knicks starters, we have a starting lineup, are Jalen Brunson, Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Isaiah Hartenstein. So Rose, Quickly, Toppin, and Sims could be the others. So he's hinting that there could be no Quentin Grimes and no Evan Fournier in the rotation tonight. Which, look, one of the things people have wanted is no Fournier.
What did you get rid of Evan Fournier? Yes. What did it cost you? Quentin Grimes.
Quentin Grimes. I don't understand the no Grimes part of this, but part of that might be okay. Can I just clarify something that we as a fan base need to put into our language going forward? Quentin Grimes wasn't untouchable. Wasn't the reason why the Knicks didn't get Donovan Mitchell. The Knicks didn't want to make the 2029 pick unprotected. That is why. Like that,
and they wanted to include either RJ or Grimes, but not RJ and Grimes.
I think if the Jazz were like don't include 2029, but include Quentin Grimes instead. Quentin Grimes is a member of the Jazz. The Knicks are playing Quentin Grimes tonight. I think it's the 2029 pick. The Knicks were not willing to make it not unprotected. Like that is what I have heard. And I'm not like, I don't have as many sources as Chris or John or obviously anybody on this beat that we just reported. The very little information I do have, because I did do my personal digging on this Donovan Mitchell story, like the league was ready, like had marketing ready and set up for Donovan Mitchell is going to New York City, and Leon pulled the plug because of the third pick. That is
it was always about the picks. It was always about the picks.
Yes. So, with all that being said, Quentin Grimes, as Fred is hinting, could be out of the rotation tonight. I would very much question that. How do we feel just on everything we just read? Mensa, we'll go to you first.
Fournier and Sims should be out the rotation. I think when you have a bad defensive team, you should not take the good defensive players out of your rotation. I don't think that's rocket science either. And I also, especially against this Utah Jazz team, you can survive 10 Obi Toppin, Julius Randle minutes. You can do it. You can split the minutes at the 4 and the 5, 32, 32, 32 between Julius Randle, Obi Toppin, and Isaiah Hartenstein. If you want to give Hartenstein, if you want to give him 36 and Obi 28, no problem. But there's no reason for Jericho Sims to continue to play minutes when I like the kid. He's not ready yet. And Evan Fournier is a shell of himself. So I think if that is the case, if we go to a 9-man rotation with Quentin Grimes on the outs and Jericho Sims in, I would be disappointed with that.
I'll double up on what you just said. I'd be disappointed with that. If we have a 9-man rotation and Obi plays less than 20 minutes tonight, that's just not the play at this point. Now we saw it for like 2 minutes, but if we see Obi at the 3 tonight, and that's the solution, that we're gonna see more Obi, Randle, Hartenstein lineups because the East is big, man. I mean, he's trying stuff. I don't understand the Quentin Grimes stuff. I really don't. this guy was a starter. Was one of the best players on this team in summer league. He seemed like a good on ball and point of attack defender before the last season, and going into this year, people wondered if he would start, and he got the first non-Fournier start of the season. So it confuses me. Okay, we've talked a lot, and it's been 51 minutes, and we have not done betting and sweating yet. So let me pull this up because the Knicks are about to play a basketball game in about 10 minutes.
While you pull that up,
go ahead.
I'll just give my quick take on what you're saying. I don't. To what we were saying earlier, about Tibbs can say I don't have them as two best defensive players. To then take one of those guys out the rotation doesn't make any sense. Also, today, again, against this team, a 5-out team, Obi at the 3 is you can get away with Obi at the 3 against this team.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Obi's got to have minutes tonight. That's where I'm at. 25 at least, So we'll see. Wow. I hope Quentin and Fournier enjoyed their players only dinner. I hope they got appetizers and everything, because if they're out of the rotation, that's a choice. Okay, betting and sweating is I'm grasping at straws to try and defend this man, and he pulls Quentin Grimes out of the rotation completely. I swear to God. Okay, betting and sweating presented by the fine folks, our good friends over at WynnBet. Download the WynnBet app or visit www.wynnbet.com. That's www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet 100, win 100. Download, bet, win. My apologies. We had a super chat jump in earlier that I did not read aloud. So give me a second to scroll up because the chat has been active. This is from Hush Zoo. Tonight, I am a Utah Jazz fan. Go Jazz. Hashtag fire Tibbs. Must go down before it can go back up, right, fellas? Okay, so the line for tonight, the Knicks are +4 in Utah. Plus 155 is the money line. 231.5 is the over-under line for the game. Where are you guys leaning as far as your betting and sweating picks? Mensa, you do the honors. What's your first pick? What is your pick for tonight?
2 +3s for Kelly Olynyk. Last I checked was plus money. I can't believe it. I'm taking
plus
that.
120, plus 125. You are correct. All right.
I mean, I'm going to look at role players on other teams who can shoot threes. And that's going to be my pick repeatedly until I see something change. And the player that I looked at, I'm looking at Colin Sexton, 2 +3s at plus 185. I should just pay the juice and do like Rory marketing, but I didn't want to do that. So I was like, let me see if I get some plus money here. So Colin Sexton, 2 +3s at plus 185. It's either him or Taylor Horton Tucker, who absolutely cannot shoot, which means, of course, tonight will be the night that he lets it fly against us. But I'm going with Colin Sexton.
Good bets to start. I'll give you that. So my success with this so far has been going to the player combos and going with something points, rebounds, and assists. The only one I didn't get was Friday, right? Because I hit on Kevin Durant, I hit on Karl Anthony Towns, and then I missed on Julius. So the 9-man rotation tells me RJ Barrett's going to play a lot tonight. It also tells me Jalen Brunson might play a lot tonight. It also tells me Emmanuel Quickley might play a lot tonight. Because if those two wings are missing, then all right, I'm stalling. This is an RJ Barrett kind of game.
Blown out.
Say what's up?
We might get killed. If we get blown out, they won't play a lot of minutes.
So then maybe it's a Jordan Clarkson bet. We can't all take Jazz props. We just can't all take Jazz props.
Why
here.
not?
That's
what the team has done to us.
It's a Nick pregame show. We can't all take Jazz props.
All right, you know what?
Tonight.
You can take a Jazz prop. I'll switch to a Knicks prop.
I'm already about to take a Knicks prop. I promise you. I got you. I'm just picking the right one. So let me read them out loud a little bit. So Julius Randle points and rebounds. He's averaging 20, almost 21 and almost a little over 9 per game. So 30 is plus 125. No, that's for Lauri Markkanen. 30 for Lauri Markkanen is plus. That's actually a really good bet. Julius Randle, 30 plus is minus 125. You think he's going to have a better game with this shorter team? It's plus 220. More on that later. RJ Barrett points and rebounds. 25 is minus 135. So honestly, most of that is just going to be points because he doesn't rebound much, doesn't score a lot of points. Although he will have like a random 9 or 10 rebound game here and there. Jalen Brunson. This team. Jalen Brunson, these are his for tonight. 25 plus points and rebounds is plus 115. If you go down to points, rebounds, and assists for Jalen Brunson, that's what I got on Friday night. I did hit on Friday night because I hit Jalen Brunson points, rebounds, and assists, and he had 11 points in the fourth quarter to put me over. That's right. I'm on a 3-game winning streak right now, fellas. I just realized that. So you know what? No, I'm sticking with Jalen Brunson. 35 plus points, rebounds, and assists tonight. Yeah, that's where I'm going. Jalen Brunson, 35 plus points, rebounds, and assists. So our 4 lines for tonight. XJ took Utah -4 for the game. So that's minus 110. Mensa took 2 plus 3-pointers from Kelly Olynyk. Sean took 2 plus 3-pointers from Colin Sexton. And I'm taking Jalen Brunson to get 35 points, rebounds, and assists tonight. Those are our betting and sweating picks. The parlay, if you want to bet all 4, is plus $4,185, plus $4,185. If you got $10 you want to throw away, it's $418 if you get it. So we'll see. Thank you to the fine folks over at WynnBet. Download the WynnBet app now or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, win $100. Download, bet, win. Fellas, it's been an eventful pregame show. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? Mensa, we'll start with you. Sorry, Sean.
I feel like I've said it all.
Got it all out?
I am at the point where it's very early in the season. NCAA hasn't really kicked off yet. I'm doing my my little college basketball scouting. I really like Imani Bates.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the point where it's like Imani Bates to the Knicks. Hopefully, we keep playing Julius Randle. Hopefully, we don't fire Tom Thibodeau, and we can continue to lose some games and get in good position to have luck like the Pelicans and the Grizzlies did, or the
Raptors. Yeah, they jumped.
had a lot of luck, and also the Charlotte Hornets had a lot of luck. Maybe it's our year. Maybe it's our year to be in the middle and get a good pick. But tonight, I am not very hopeful. I think the Jazz do exactly what the Knicks are bad at, and I'm not expecting this to be a very competitive game, if I'm being honest.
All right, Sean.
I'll put you like this. I'll be very surprised if my eyes are still open at the end of this game. That's all I'm going to say. Mike, I do not think that God bless Jonathan Macri, who will be doing post games at
midnight.
Like, you know something? I'm gonna be on the West Coast this weekend, John. If you want me to do the post game on like Friday or Sunday,
up in the middle of the night this week. I've been people yell at him for not firing Tibbs, although he's been on the like fine, fire the coach. I agree with him
begrudgingly.
Well, the evidence is there. The calling card is defense or 24th in defense. I echo the sentiment, and we established today the issues on this team don't go away. Like the main issue of this team is the power forward. The head coach is part of an issue, but not the issue. Having said that, we've exhausted the point. I am praying that a players only meeting and a rotation shortening matters. Okay, because I would actually like the Knicks to be competitive this season. I like watching my basketball team play competitive basketball. And it's what I'm hoping for tonight. So We'll see. Hopefully that's something we get tonight. Thank you everybody for tuning in to the KFS pregame show. We do this an hour before tip off of every game. My thanks to Mensa and to Sean for joining me. Always love, even when spirited debate, to discuss this basketball team with these two. Please give them a follow. Their Twitter handles are in the name tags right under their faces. And thank you to all of you for watching. Hopefully you enjoy the game. Hopefully it is a game to enjoy. We'll see you after the game for the KFS post-game show. Until then, see you next time. Go Knicks. Knicks Nation. Let's ride.